Just like last quarter, we're going to do a theme of 3 webinars here, matching our magazine for the quarter. So if you haven't gotten it yet, you should be getting our quarterly magazine, Pillar, which this quarter is focused on cybersecurity. So if you haven't gotten that, ask around your office. Somebody has it. And so the 3 webinars this quarter, just like previously, the first one will be a little bit more general, talking about the topic, and then the second and third will be a little bit more advanced and specific. So our second one will be on compliance. Every company is subject to compliance these days. If you're not aware of that, then come next month. And we'll talk about all the different laws that Minnesota has passed, all of the legal requirements that are in your cybersecurity policy that you have to be aware of and follow if you want that to pay out. There's a ton of things that people are now required to do legally one way or another. And so next month we're going to talk about those and talk about how you can find out what you're required to do. Make sure that you're doing that and that you have the proper records for the sake of those legal requirements. And then month 3, we're going to talk about incident response. So incident response is incredibly important, both to keeping your company functioning in the event that you do get hit by some sort of cybercrime, but also making sure you do it correctly makes a huge difference as to whether your cybersecurity insurance policy is going to pay out or not. They are very good at putting very specific steps in there that you have to follow in the correct order in order to get your payout in the event of a major cyber incident. So we'll talk about incident response, what you as a company are responsible for, what you would expect from your IT provider. Theoretically, that's us, but if it's not, then whoever that is, to make sure that they are doing incident response correctly. And then what should the after effects be, right? Like what kind of report should you receive? What sort of remedial action should be taken? How should those things be done properly? So please join us both in August and September for those webinars. At the end of the presentation today, I'll put up a quick flyer that will let you know kind of where to go to register for that and all of those exciting things. So today we are going to talk a little bit about how cybersecurity works to keep your business safe, what that should look like, and frankly, what some of these tools actually do. There are a lot of tools that I'm sure you've heard of a million times that if we start really talking about what they do and how they function, there's probably some things that would surprise you about why they're important and what they do. So we're going to kind of go through that. Hopefully you received an email from Kelsey within the last hour or so that has our cybersecurity readiness assessment. That is also in the magazine. So there's a copy of it there, but we wanted you to have a copy to be able to work with today. We're going to kind of run through that, take a look at the different items that we're asking you to score, why they're important, what they do, and then you can go ahead and score yourself at the end of the presentation today. One of the things that you're going to want to look for in the magazine is that the next section, the next pages will tell you how to score yourself in each individual category of cybersecurity or cybersecurity prevention and detection. And that will also give you additional information, but we're not going to do that today. Today, we're just going to look at the layers as a complete whole. So if you have any questions about any of that, pop them in the chat and Nick or Kelsey will interrupt me or answer you in writing, depending on what's appropriate. So let's get started. Hopefully you're seeing my screen here that is talking about the bottom line is that security is a system. Almost all security and cybersecurity frameworks do work with the NIST basic format, which is this identify, protect, detect, respond, recover, right? And the important thing is to make sure that you have tools and you have processes in each and every single one of those layers. Missing any one of those layers can make sure that your company ends up in a pretty bad situation. So knowing which tools you have, which layers they sit in, and making sure that you have each layer addressed in one way or another is really important to your overall cybersecurity plan. So the little quote here at the bottom, I like: the companies that handle cyber incidents best are not the ones that believe they could prevent everything. They're the ones that built layers, expected failure, and prepared the business to keep operating anyway. I'm sure you've heard someone say it, hopefully us before, but it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when and how bad it will be. And so making sure that that is your framework and that is the way you think about it, and that you are always remembering that this is going to happen, right? So we can't just focus on protect. We have to also be focusing on that detect, respond, recover, all of those other layers. So we start off and we have, and feel free to interrupt me at any time, please. We're going to start off with identify. Super important layer that almost none of us do. Do you know what you have? Do you know where it is? Do you know where the most important pieces are? Do you know the paths that people could use to access them? Those are not questions that a lot of business owners, operators can answer. Can you tell me exactly all the machines that you have and how they're connecting to your network? Can you tell me how data flows through your network? Is it flowing over Wi-Fi? Is it flowing over Ethernet cable? Is it encrypted while it's moving? Right? Are there any holes to the outside that could possibly let someone in? Making sure you're doing vulnerability scanning, because that will identify not only what you have, but also what some of your vulnerabilities are, right? We do one that we can do for clients, and it will point out every port that's open on your computers that maybe should not be open. It will show every password that you or your coworkers have stored inside your computer that are extremely vulnerable to being hacked. It will do all of those things. And by knowing what your vulnerabilities are, then we can start to address them. So again, making sure you're doing that identifying level. And then of course, every once in a while, you want to do that external attack surface monitoring. So pen testing is what a lot of people will call that, right? And when it comes to penetration testing, I strongly recommend that you do not have your current IT provider do that for you, right? There's a little bit of like asking the fox to guard the hen house, right? Like it's our responsibility to keep you safe. And so you really want somebody else trying to break that, right? To really see how secure things are. So when it does come to the pen testing, I do recommend that you find another company. We always have recommendations if you're interested. The vulnerability scanning is internal. That's fine to have your current IT provider do, but that external, you're going to want an outside source doing that. One of the ones that's most important that people forget about is that SaaS and cloud app inventory. It is amazing when we start trying to list all the different cloud apps that a company is using, how many there truly are, and how many individual members of the team are using something that you may have no idea they're using, right? Because there's a lot of apps out there that you can use. Some of them are free. Sometimes people will get a personal account because they feel like that app is going to be really helpful for them at work. So they'll just go ahead and get a personal account and use it. And most companies have no idea how many different cloud apps are being used within their company and how that data is being stored. Is it safe in whatever app your team is using? So doing that inventory and just asking everyone, every single app you are using, every single cloud program you're using, let's get those written down so that we can do a security assessment on those, because some of those are very, very almost, dangerous, right? Some of those AI apps that can be used are very dangerous. Some of them are merely fronts for criminal organizations, right? And they're wanting you to put in as much information as they can get you to put in there, so that they can use that as an attack vector into your company, right? It's active phishing, right? They're getting your people to put things in there. The major ones, there's also security concerns with those, right? Chat, all of those, but some of them are actively dangerous. So we want to make sure that you have some idea what people are using. How are they using it? What information are they putting in there, right? And the other important one is that data mapping. So knowing where your data is stored. Is that data on your network, inside your building, on a machine? Is that data in the cloud? Is that data in your Office 365 account? Where is the data? Because if you don't know exactly where it's sitting, you don't know how to protect it and you don't know how to back it up, right? So if I asked you with any given important file that you have open on your computer, where is that file actually stored, right? Do you know? Is it on your computer? Is it on your local server? Is it in your Teams or Office 365 account? What about all the other important documents and pieces of data that people at your company are using? Do they know where it is? So unfortunately, Identify is one of those layers that gets the least attention. But without that layer, there's no way you can protect your data because you just don't know what you have or where you have it. So please make sure that when you score yourself on that, you're a little tough with yourself, right? Do you have that not implemented? I mean, I've never asked everybody what SaaS apps they're using. Are you planning to do it, which is a number one? Do you have it partially implemented, or do you have it fully implemented? Right. So what level would you say that you are for each of those identifies? I don't see anything in chat, so I'm gonna move on to Protect. Protect is the one that people are most familiar with, right? These are the ones that you've been hearing about for years and years. These are the ones that you're supposed to be doing. Unfortunately, some of them are different than they used to be, and some of them aren't very well understood what they actually do. So the first one I'm going to talk about here is endpoint protection, or EDR. This is what we used to call antivirus, right? If you are still using antivirus within your company on your personal computer, unfortunately, I'm here to tell you that is not doing anything. Antivirus was built in a day and age where viruses were sent out into the ethosphere here, and they would travel around for years, right? And so what would happen is your antivirus company would send a definition of that virus to your antivirus. It would say, okay, if you have this virus, this is a file that's going to show up on your computer. This is a file name that's going to get changed. And if you see those things, then you definitely have that virus and you need to shut it down, right? That's how antivirus functioned. Today, the only attacks that are of serious consequences are zero-day attacks, meaning the very first day that a virus is released out into the world is the day that it does the damage. By the end of the day, people have defined it. It's been sent out to all the systems. It's basically gone. But antivirus can't help you with a zero-day attack because it doesn't know it. It hasn't been given a definition. It hasn't been told what that file's called or what it's going to do. And because it's never been told about it, it thinks it's totally fine, right? On the other hand, what endpoint protection, or EDR, does is it analyzes the behavior of a file on your computer. So it says, if this thing that just showed up on this computer is acting like a virus, smelling like a virus, behaving like a virus, then I'm gonna assume it's a virus, even though no one has ever told me that this thing might be out there or that I should be looking for it. And when I say virus, I mean all of the malware, right? There's the Trojans, there's a million of them out there. When I use the word virus, I'm just using a generality for all of them. And so you want to make sure that what you have is endpoint protection, right? Something that is smart enough to recognize a piece of malicious software, even if it's never been told about it before, because those zero-day attacks are the ones that matter. They're really the only ones that matter anymore, and antivirus cannot detect those at all. So please make sure that you are using something that can do behavioral analysis and is not definition-based. All right. If you're with Pantheon, we absolutely use EDR. We have for a good number of years. It's been quite a while since we've used antivirus. But I would think that a lot of you maybe on your home computers or things like that may still be using antivirus. And that's something that you wanna be super careful about. Another one that I want to talk about here a little bit is spam filtering. We're in the process of switching our spam filter. So if you're with us, you either have had that happen or it's coming up in the next couple of weeks. But spam filtering, for a lot of people, when they think about spam filtering, what they think about is that it's filtering out the email that I don't want, right? That's what spam filtering is supposed to do. And so when they have spam filtering applied to their mail and they still get email they don't want, they're like, why am I using a spam filter? What is this thing actually doing? I'm still getting spam. I'm still getting email I don't want. What is the point? At one point, that is what spam filtering did back in the day. We've never really changed the name, but what spam filtering does today is far more important. So what it does today is it analyzes every email. It's going to analyze every attachment. It's going to analyze every link in that email. And it is going to do everything it can to make sure that there's nothing malicious in that email. It doesn't have a payload. It's not trying to take you somewhere malicious. And if the email is safe, it's really likely to pass it on to you, whether it's something you think you want or not. What the spam filter is really trying to do is make sure that what it's giving you is safe and it's stopping you from getting the things that are not safe. All right. Spam filtering, again, is going through a revolution right now, which is why we are changing ours. Traditional spam filtering functioned a lot like antivirus, right? It knows what it's looking for. But again, the thing about cybercrime today is that it's really only the thing that just got created that's going to get you, right? And they know that. So they're constantly creating the next version of everything they're doing. And unless your system is smart enough to recognize that it is still a malicious behavior, even though it's never been told about it, it can't protect you. So we are actually moving to a new spam filter that has an AI background to it, right? And so it is constantly analyzing where that email come from. What does the message actually say, right? Which is something spam filtering has never been able to do before. It didn't read the message and think, okay, based on this message, do I feel like this could be a phishing email? Do I feel like this could be, right? It didn't read your email before. But the new AI versions actually read that message and go, okay, that really sounds like a phishing email. I'm going to go ahead and categorize it as a phish, right? And so that's how spam filtering is changing and the misconceptions around it, right? It's not there to stop you from getting email you don't want. If it does that, that's great. And a lot of them will let you mark things and say, this is spam, I don't want this, blacklist it. It depends on the software you're using, what it calls it. But that's not its function. Its function is to keep you safe and to stop you from getting emails that are malicious. Hopefully you never see them. They never show up in your mailbox. You don't even know you got them. But if you ask your IT provider for a report on how many emails were sent to you that you never received because they were very dangerous, I think you will be shocked as to how many emails never make it to your mailbox, not because they're spam, but because they're dangerous, right? So please make sure that you are thinking about whatever spam filtering you have right now, making sure that it is using more advanced technology, again, not just based on what it's been told, but making sure that it can actually analyze the email and determine if it believes that it's going to be dangerous for you or not. Hopefully that made some sense, but that is a misconception I hear about spam filtering quite often is, well, I don't even want this thing, right? Like take it off because it gives me emails I don't want. It blocks emails I do want, um, which is frustrating. I get that, but the purpose of spam filtering is to keep you safe. Um, the next one that I want to talk about a little bit two down from there is email authentication, SPF, DKIM, and DMARC. Do you need to know what those things mean? Nope, you don't. Uh, actually, I don't know that I could tell you what all the letters in DMARC stand for. But what this does is this is a newer system. It's been around for the last couple years, but it's only recently that it's become basically essential if you want your email delivered to all your intended recipients. Because these records that are put on the internet by your IT provider or whoever does your email, these records are put out on the internet, and basically what they say is, this is how you know that this email actually came from Pantheon, right? Because we all know how good they are at making an email look like it came from somewhere that it didn't actually come from, right? So these DKIM and these DMARC configurations that are put out on the internet, what they do is every email that goes by, it will check for those things and make sure that that email is actually coming from you. And it will actually stop emails from coming before they ever hit your mailbox, before they ever hit your spam filter, that are trying to impersonate your company and send an email out looking like it's from you when it's not. What happens these days is that if you don't have those records set up, some email systems will not take the email because it hasn't been validated by DKIM and DMARC. So as far as they're concerned, your email is fraudulent, right? So you have to have those DKIM and those DMARC records set up out there so that the validation process can happen before the email is received, so that the system that receives it understands that it's legit and will actually let you have it. So if you're ever getting complaints from clients, vendors that they are not receiving emails that you know you are sending, that is a very, very likely suspect for why that is happening, is that your DKIM and your DMARC are not set up correctly. On the other side of that, you want to make sure that your system is set up to only accept emails that have the DKIM and the DMARC set up correctly, right? So you want to make sure that you're only receiving emails that have been validated by those systems and are actually from the company or the person that you believe they're coming from. Again, that can cause problems where somebody will tell you they're sending you emails, you're not getting them, at which point their IT provider needs to set up DKIM and DMARC. But this is becoming more and more important, and more email systems are becoming very strict about, if these things are not set up and if they are not correct, I won't let you have this email. So want to make sure that if you have never talked to your IT provider about your DKIM and DMARC, to make sure that they're set up and that you're not receiving emails that haven't been validated, something that you probably do want to go ahead and talk to them about. The next thing I'm going to talk a little bit about here is DNS filtering, down kind of in the bottom third of the list there. DNS filtering, a lot of times what people will believe that that is for content filtering. In fact, I have to correct my own team on this occasionally, right? They think that DNS filtering is making sure that you can't get to sites that are known to often be malicious or that you don't want people visiting. Things like pornography or firearms websites or games, things like that, right? That's what your DNS filtering is doing, is it's filtering people's ability to get to those sites. And it can do that, but that is not why DNS filtering is so important. What DNS filtering is actually doing is every time you try to go to a website, it does not let you go straight there. And so what it does is it bounces it out to our, or whoever's you're using, DNS filter. And that DNS filter takes a look at your website, kind of looks at the website you're trying to go to, and will try to determine if it is a malicious website before it lets you go there, right? So if you're trying to go to Wells Fargo, and that last O is not an O, it's a 0.com, the DNS filtering is going to stop you and not let you go there. It just won't let you do it. And instead, it'll say, hey, contact your IT provider because there's something wrong with where you're trying to go right now. And that is why DNS filtering is so important. It happens so quickly that you have no idea that before you actually got to your website, this entire process happened to make sure that where you're trying to go is safe. But that is what DNS filtering is doing. So please make sure when you think about your DNS filtering, when your provider tells you that they need to set up DNS filtering, that you're not just thinking about it as a content filter. Because although it does that, that is not the most important thing it does. The most important thing it does is stop you from going to malicious websites in the first place. So that's what DNS filtering does. The next one I want to talk a little bit about is mobile device management. This is one that scares people, right? First of all, there are a lot of companies out there who believe that if they are not providing cell phones to their staff, they cannot ask their staff to use their cell phones for work. And that, by the way, is a fairly old-fashioned notion these days. Most companies do actually have people using their personal cell phones for work, to check their email, to check their Teams, to do multi-factor authentication, right? All of those things are being done on personal cell phones. What that means is that you want to make sure that you have some ability to keep that cell phone safe. It has your company's data on it, and you need to keep it safe. That's the point where we hit sort of a brick wall sometimes, right? Where people are like, my company is not putting right stuff on my phone. Like, it's my phone. And they're not going to do that. Or where companies are like, hey, I can't ask my people to let me do this. And so with mobile device management, what I want to make sure that is understood is that, yes, mobile device management can deal with some things at the base phone level, right? It can require that the phone has a password on. It can require a couple of these things. Generally speaking, people don't object to that. Right? Like, it's okay if you say my phone has to have a password. What they object to is your ability to control content on their phone, right? So what mobile device management does is it will actually put a bucket, I always call it a bucket, I don't know why, a bucket onto everyone's cell phone. And the only thing it controls content for is what is inside that bucket. So every time you allow them to use their email, or you allow them to use Teams, or put maybe a sales app onto their phone so that they can use that mobily, it's not going on the phone per se, it's going into the bucket on the phone. Okay, so what that allows you to do is to simply control those apps and let your team know that you are not controlling the rest of their phone. You can't see their text messages, you can't see their photos, you can't control whether or not they have Candy Crush on their phone. Those things are not what you're doing. What you're doing is controlling what's inside your bucket. All right. And that is great, because then you can make sure that those security settings are what you want them to be on people's cell phones. But the most important part to me as a business owner is that if suddenly one day, say Kelsey quits, she walks out the door and she walks out with her cell phone and it's gone and I can't do anything, I can actually wipe that bucket off her phone, right? I'm not touching the rest of her phone. I'm not wiping any of her personal data. I'm not doing anything, but I do have the ability and the right to snatch back my bucket, right? So all of that is now gone off her phone. She doesn't have access to it. All that data is secure, and it's still within the business's control. So that is why mobile device management is so important, is that ability to control the security of those apps, but also to make sure that your apps are inside a container that you can remove at your will at any time off that phone. Right? That is why mobile device management is so important. And again, If you're talking to people, making sure that they understand that you can't do all those other things on their phone just because you have mobile device management on their phone, right? You can't read their texts with their grandma or anything like that, right? It's very defined and very contained. All right. Um, there's one on there that I'm guessing a lot of you don't even know what it is, which is data loss prevention. It's the third one from the bottom there. DLP is the ability, and sometimes this exists at the Teams level, sometimes it's within your email system, but it controls the ability to stop people from moving your data from your system somewhere else. So the easiest examples of this is, let's say somebody's trying to send an email and it has a number in there that's 3 numbers dash 2 numbers dash 4 numbers, right? Probably a social security number. And so what data loss prevention will do is it will see that pattern and it will say, nope, you're not sending that email. Nope. Like that has data in it that we do not want leaving the company, right? It will also do it at the file level if you have it on Teams, right? So if you have a particular file and you don't want people to be able to copy it, you don't want people to be able to download it, you don't want people to be able to share it, you can put those security structures on those things and stop that data from being moved somewhere that you don't want it to go. Is it foolproof? No. At the end of the day, people can still bring something up on their screen, take a picture of it, right, and send the picture somewhere else. Nothing is foolproof. But what data loss prevention does is it stops people from accidentally doing it a lot, right? Like I didn't realize that this document I was trying to share with this other company actually had proprietary information in it, and it will stop it from happening. You can configure that with all kinds of things. Tell it, if you see this word, don't let it go out. If you see this pattern of numbers, don't let it go out. This particular document in and of itself needs to be protected. Data loss prevention is becoming more and more common. If you have certain Office 365 licenses, it comes with it, and we can help you set up DLP to protect your most sensitive data, right? Like I have a spreadsheet that shows exactly how much money each person here makes, whether or not they're using benefits, how much that costs me, right? Like it has all this information about every single person on it. I don't want other people to be able to access that information. And I can certainly just put it in a folder that's protected, but if I can also put data loss prevention on that file, that's going to stop other people, like my HR person who has access to that file, from copying it, downloading it, sending it to someone, whether intentionally or accidentally. So data loss prevention, definitely one to ask about. If your Office 365 license already allows you to do this, it's definitely worth setting up. I mean, why not, right? Why not protect your most sensitive data if you have the ability to do it? The only other one that I wanted to talk about a little bit here is your firewall. Firewalls are incredibly important, but a lot of people do not have them set up properly, nor do they necessarily understand exactly what it's doing. So I want to talk about this a little bit so that you have some idea of what your firewall is actually doing. Your firewall, represented here by a lovely brick wall created by Kelsey beautifully, I love it, sits between your computer and the internet. We all know that, right? What most people don't understand is that a firewall is not a tunnel, it is a series of doors, right? And each one of these doors is a way that you could get out to the internet. It's also a way that someone could come in from the internet. These are called ports, if you've ever heard somebody talking about your firewall ports. And when we say ports, we don't literally mean those little square things on the back. Those are ports too. But instead we mean software ports, certain protocols that the data can use to leave your firewall and go somewhere. A firewall with all of these ports means that there are that many different ways that somebody could get into your firewall, right? It's not just one way. There are hundreds of ports, which means there are hundreds of different ways that someone could get into your firewall. So what's really important when you talk to your IT provider is making sure that they have protected each of those doors the best they can. Okay, so some of these doors you want to have specifically set aside to only do one thing. So we could take the second door and say, this goes to my VoIP system. Only data can come in is my VoIP. The only data that can go out is my VoIP. You can't use that door for anything else. It's completely locked down. The only thing it can do is go to VoIP, right? You're going to want to do that if you have a cloud server as well. Designate a port, lock it down, make it sure that that's the only thing, the only data that can go in and out is what's going to and from that cloud server. What that does is it stops other people from getting into that door and using that door to getting to your VoIP system or to your cloud server, right? You want that locked down as hard as you can. And then, of course, you have to have a door open for your websites. Say this middle door here, you have to have one open. The data goes in and out of. You can't shut them all, or you wouldn't be able to get to the internet, right? So you do have to have at least that one open. What I want to stress to you is that you should really ask your IT provider if all the other doors have been closed. What that's called is a deny all. So they should be setting up your firewall to deny all attempts to come in or go out of any port except the one that you have designated and the ones that are locked down to specific places, right? Every other door should be set as a deny all. A lot of times that doesn't happen. We just took over a client here in the last couple of days and took a look at their firewall, and some of those ports were just wide open. And if a bad guy finds that door that is wide open, they can certainly use it to try to come in. And so that is a very important part of firewall safety that you're going to want to ask about, because truthfully, doing a deny all is very difficult and painful, right? Because when we first set a firewall and we say deny all, there's the possibility that door one was being used for something that we didn't know it was being used for. Maybe your credit card machine was using door one, and for whatever reason, our scan didn't pick that up. When we do the deny all, your credit card machine is going to stop working, right? And so a deny all is a process. You kind of have to turn it on, figure out what doesn't work, turn it back off, fix those things, turn it back on again. And so a lot of firewalls are not set up as a deny all, simply because a lot of people don't want to go through the pain of what it takes to actually lock it down that far. So ask. At the same time, the firewall, the one door that is open to the website, this is why your subscription on your firewall is so, so, so important, right? Your account manager, your IT provider is going to contact you at some point and say, hey, your subscription is about to fail. It's about to expire. It's not going to be there anymore. What your subscription does very specifically is it's watching the data that's going in and out of that open door. And it basically functions like antivirus or like a spam filter or anything else, right? It is watching all that traffic and looking for particular signals, particular patterns that make it go, this is malicious data, and I am not going to let that through my door. Okay? So when you don't have a subscription, it doesn't mean just that you don't have a warranty on your firewall anymore. That's not what's important at all. What's important is that it's no longer being able to connect back to the data repository that tells it what data patterns and signals to look for. And so the day your subscription is over is the day that your firewall gets dumb. And from that point forward, it has no idea what the bad guys are doing anymore to try to get into it. And so all of those new patterns, all of those new signals, all those new ways the bad guys are trying to use to get in, your firewall is going to go, yep, sure, come on in. No problem. You're not on my list of things that I'm supposed to be looking for. So come on in, right? And so that's why that subscription is so, so important. You constantly want that firewall able to check back in with the central repository and know what it should be blocking and stopping from coming in. So unfortunately, we hear a lot of clients who are like, well, I don't need the subscription. The firewall will still work, right? Yes, your firewall will still work, right? Well, I don't need the warranty, right? I mean, if that piece of hardware fails, we'll just replace it. You guys don't fix firewalls anyway. Correct. That is absolutely true. And so there's this idea that then you don't need the subscription. And what the subscription really is doing is keeping your firewall updated on what kind of patterns and signals to stop from coming into your network. So